Really excited about our next guest. Our paths crossed when I was doing radio play-by-play for the University of Hartford, and she was a star at University of Connecticut for the UCONN Huskies, winning 4 consecutive titles. And now fast forward, 3rd year as a pro, she is the WNBA MVP.
To be the MVP of the WNBA, the best league in the world, it's at the top. And to do it with this franchise, this team, my teammates, I couldn't have imagined it any other way. I don't know if this award is going to change me by any means. I think that, I'm still going to be the same person who's still motivated. Yes, I won the MVP, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to win it again.
It happened just shy of her 24th birthday. Breanna Stewart of the Seattle Storm, formerly of the UConn Huskies, joining us now after hours with Amy Lawrence. Breanna, congratulations. It's been a huge week for you. Not only the MVP, but your team is in the semifinals of the playoffs. What's this ride been like?
Yeah, it's honestly been a crazy week, like you said. But, to be honored with the MVP of this season, obviously, something that I definitely worked for. But just goes to show how much success we've had as a team. And now, we're in full swing playoff mode. Have Game 3 of the semis later on this week.
Not to mention your birthday, too, on Monday. So happy birthday, Breanna.
Thank you.
Your team has made such a major turnaround in the few years that you have been a part of the Seattle Storm. And I know that was one of your stated goals, is to see this team get back to the postseason, which is where you are now. As you look back to your rookie season, where do you feel like the Storm have made the biggest strides and the most progress?
I would say the biggest progress we've made is just the fact that, we've obviously built a lot of chemistry with our core group, and the young players that we had have really matured as far as, knowing what we need to do and how to play in big games and kind of making things happen.
You played at the highest level at the University of Connecticut. That is the pinnacle for women's college basketball. You won titles all 4 years, and yet you've talked about this jump to the WNBA with so many amazing players around you. Personally, what was the biggest adjustment for you on the court?
I think I just had to make the biggest adjustment. Obviously, understanding the level and the style of play at the professional level. WNBA is the best league in the world. And just how I'm going to be able to play my best and kind of understanding what I want to do and on the court and putting myself in positions to make that possible.
What's one thing that you've really focused on to help you get better as a pro basketball player?
I mean, something that I've focused on this year especially was just, how I manage to take care of my body. The growth in that and realizing that it's not only what you're doing on the basketball court, but what you're doing in the weight room, what you're eating, and how you're taking care of your body in that regard.
She's the newly minted WNBA MVP, Breanna Stewart of the Seattle Storm, in her 3rd year, and her Storm are locked in a semifinal battle with the Phoenix Mercury in the playoffs. It's after hours on CBS Sports Radio. Well, you mentioned taking care of your physical body, and one of your teammates, who's also a UConn product, is legendary for that. Sue Bird, who's still dominating at 37 years old. What does that mean to you as someone who shares a locker room and a court with her?
It's just motivating, to see her playing her best at 37, like you said, still competing and being the best of the best. It's what us as young aspiring players trying to have great careers like her want to do, and to kind of do whatever she does and follow in her footsteps to make sure that hopefully we can have a long career as well.
There are a lot of former UConn Huskies in the WNBA, and you're playing against another one in Diana Taurasi of Phoenix. We know that she can take over a game. In fact, she did that toward the end of your second semifinal matchup. So there is certainly a special connection with all of you as former Huskies, but is there also a little extra competition when you face each other in the WNBA?
I think it just makes it more competitive. I think obviously, coming all of us coming from, the same place as UConn and kind of knowing what one another likes to do, the stakes are even higher, and you want these wins even more just because you're playing against the other best players in the league.
I cannot think about UConn women's basketball without thinking about the fans. As someone who grew up in New England, those are the most passionate women's basketball fans in the country. So now you're on the other side of the United States, Breanna. How do the Storm fans compare with those you had in college?
Honestly, the fans in Seattle have been amazing. Especially this year and on our championship run, our playoff push. We've had games in a row as of late, and they've all been sellouts. And Key Arena, there's no place like it, and it's hard for other teams to come in and try and get wins because it's so loud.
It's always nice to have that support, isn't it? Breanna Stewart is a former UConn Husky who won the Most Outstanding Player of the Final four times in a row, and now she's the WNBA MVP with us here after hours on CBS Sports Radio. I didn't know this about you, but I read that you played off-season hoops in China. What was that experience like?
It was a good experience. My past two years overseas, I was in Shanghai, I was in China, and it was a lot of fun. Shanghai is the best city to be in China, and I think it helps a lot with my game and just kind of putting yourself in different atmospheres, different environments, and making it work.
Are there a lot of other people who speak English, like your teammates?
Honestly, a few of my teammates were pretty good at English. Obviously, not like super fluent, but we could hold a conversation. And Shanghai was the best place to be just because it was probably the most Americanized city in China.
I'm assuming that you had other options. Why did you choose to play in China, Breanna?
So I picked China because my first year, my rookie year, it was kind of a whirlwind year going from winning the national championship, going straight to Seattle, the Olympics, and then, finishing in Seattle afterwards. And in China, the season is shorter than some other countries. So I wanted to make sure that I kind of had a break for myself on the back end. And then, I enjoyed it in year one, so I went back for year two.
I remember talking to an Alabama football player once about the difference between being in Tuscaloosa versus being a pro. And he told me that because of the pressure and the high standard that he had to uphold as a member of the Crimson Tide, that he actually felt like college was even more difficult than what he faced day to day in the NFL. So as someone who played at the highest level in women's hoops, UConn, how did that prepare you for what you now face on a day-to-day basis as a pro?
Being at UConn had done a lot for me, especially, like you said, preparing to be a pro. And I think, obviously we're focused when we go to UConn, you focus on the now and focus on winning and how you're going to get that done. But they're also focused on, making sure that you're ready for the next level and you're ready to thrive when your 4 years is up.
From the UConn Huskies to the Seattle Storm, now the WNBA MVP, Breanna Stewart with us after hours on CBS Sports Radio. It's been a big year for you personally, away from the court as well, Breanna. Going back to October, you shared publicly that you had been sexually abused as a kid in a column that you wrote for the Players Tribune. Now, having had the perspective of a few months to look back, what was the reaction like when you shared that very personal revelation?
The reaction was like no other. I think when I put out the story, obviously I didn't know what to expect and was kind of nervous about it. But the support and the love that I got from people that I know and even the people that I don't know was what made it worth its while, I guess you could say, and what made me kind of understand that everything this was a good thing to do.
In that same vein, why is it now important for you to partner with RAINN and to be a member of their National Leadership Council?
It's important for me just because, obviously, like you said, after releasing my story, a lot of people will come up to me and have similar stories or situations. And unfortunately, I just can't be there for everyone. And if I partner with RAINN, kind of having a place to send people where they can get the help they need, and there will be someone always there to talk to them, and just making sure that I do something like that just to continue not only my story but how I can make it help people.
Well, I admire you, Breanna, for taking what was a horrible situation and turning it into something positive for other people. Let's finish with basketball. On this week in which you win the WNBA MVP, your Seattle Storm are facing Game 3 against the Phoenix Mercury on Friday, a semifinal series. What does your team need to do to come up with a win?
Most important for us is, just able to honestly play the full 40 minutes the way that we want to. There's been some ups and downs in our first two games, but we were still able to come out with a win. But we know that Phoenix is going to come out with a lot of vengeance, especially playing at home. And, we want to get this win and go back to Seattle and prepare for the finals.
Awesome. I can't wait to see what happens. And congratulations on the WNBA MVP, even before the Seattle Storm finished out their postseason. Breanna Stewart on Twitter, exactly that. She's a former UConn standout, now a member of the Storm in the WNBA. Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.